All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, October 11th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'm joined by my co-host here on Monday afternoon, Big Marcel. Marcel, how's it going, man? How's everything with you?
Yeah, all good, man. How are you doing? Great to be back. Recapping, reviewing some UFC fights from last weekend, and I think it was a pretty fun card. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to start talking about that. But first off, I mean, there is some breaking news. Just literally broke on Twitter. Just
hmm
right when the podcast starts, I get a DM from Cole saying, "Yo, there's a story that you got to write," but he's writing it because my shift's over at 4:00. Jorge Masvidal is fighting Leon Edwards, guys. That fight's apparently happening according to Ara Hawani at UFC 269. So the report says that fight will happen in December, and then they're going to move Brandon Moreno and Figueiredo to January. Have you heard anything about this, Marcel? What can you tell us, like, publicly? Anything you heard about this fight?
I kind of hear the same about Moreno and Figueiredo, but I know it's not done yet of moving. But I did hear the same, and
Okay.
also the Edwards against Masvidal. It's still finalizing. It's not 100% done. And people always ask me like, why didn't you post that yet? It's like it's still finalizing. I'm really not comfortable with putting something out on Twitter when it's still not 100%, or at least for my feeling is done. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's but pretty much if Ariel and Brad says it, it's pretty much there. You know what I mean?
No doubt. So it looks like that's going to be a done deal, guys. I mean, it's not a surprise, right? Like, that's the fight that everyone's been talking about. Those guys have been talking shit to each other for like almost 3 years since the
Yeah,
three-piece in Minnesota. That was in March 2019, Marcel. That was a long time ago when that
it
happened.
is.
So these guys have not liked each other for a long time. Again, guys, this is breaking news. Just happened 5 minutes ago, right as we started recording the podcast. So pretty crazy.
It's
Uh,
it was pre-COVID. That's pretty much how long
that's
it's
how
been.
long ago it was. It's like a different world back then. I
Uh,
mean, we don't have odds for it yet. I don't think. Let me check if there are odds. If they open any future odds, we might
I'm
have.
pretty sure
No, I don't
Edwards
see
might be
anything. I think
favored.
Edwards will be favored too. I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
based on that winning streak, it's hard not to favor him. Masvidal obviously has a puncher's chance, has a flying
Mhm.
knee chance to win this fight, but you look at Masvidal's takedown defense, and Edwards is a good wrestler. Plus, he's a good striker. I think overall he should win the fight, but again, we don't have odds for it, so we'll talk about that fight when it happens. But it looks like it's going to happen. All right, let's get into the card from last Saturday, Marcel. UFC Vegas 39, Dern versus
Mhm.
Rodriguez, which I remember when I wrote the opening odds article and I put Rodriguez versus Dern first, and then I had to go check and I realized that the rankings were switched. And I scratched my head wondering why, because I like Mackenzie Dern. She's a really good fighter. She had no business being ranked number 4. And I think Marina should have always been there. And I actually think Marina should have been ranked higher than Yan, too. I think Marina is an underrated fighter. She came in here number 6 in the division, goes in there and pretty much dominates number 4 in Mackenzie Dern outside the third of the second round, where Dern had a very, very strong round. And as someone who bet on Marina, I was shitting bricks that round, Marcel. I'm like, oh man, this is so scary. But Marina got out of it. And again, she's never been submitted before. Very good submission defense and an amazing striker, as we saw in this fight, Marcel. I had a feeling if the fight stood standing, she would have a big advantage on the feet. She did. I overall thought she looked great. I think it was a really good fight at one fight of the night. I was impressed by both women's toughness, their durability, the ability to go 5 rounds. But Marina Rodriguez, man, I mean, what can you say? Like, this is 3 straight wins now, Marcel, and she's probably 1 win away from getting a title shot, guys. I really do think that she's great. I don't know if she will beat Rose or someone like that, but she matches up decently well against like Weili Zhang, I think. I also think she matches up decently well against Joanna. So because these are other strikers, right? Like, they're not grapplers really, Marcel. She's gotten through the grapplers now, except for Carla, who beat her by split decision in a very close fight. But I think
Mhm.
she's proven she can hang with the grapplers. And now, Marcel, she's going to be fighting the strikers, which is interesting. So I think Marina, she's 34, guys, so she's not young, but she's in her prime right now. And I think that if she fights for the belt in the next year, she would have a decent chance of winning it. So give me your thoughts on Marina, Marcel, because I think she's a really good fighter.
I agree, man. By the way, it wasn't my fight of the night pick, but hey, I
You
have
know
no
what? It
problem.
wasn't for me either. And I was going to ask you, do you think it deserved it? Because I would have went with the 4 performance bonuses personally.
I would have done that, or I would either give it to Damon Jackson versus Charles Rose. I really like that fight, but the 4 performance bonuses would have been perfect. But I had the feeling the UFC wanted to give all women the bonuses for
It was a
some
good fight,
reason.
anyways. It's not like it was a bad fight. It
Yeah.
was a good fight. So
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
have a
no.
problem with it, but I kind of think that Romanov and Garcia should have got the bonuses. Anyways, talk about the fight,
Yeah.
Marcel. Give me your thoughts on Marina, because, like, again, I was very impressed.
Yeah, man, good fight, man, from Marina. I mean, She dominated the first round. She dominated the third round. The fourth round, only the last 30 seconds, not from the fourth round. I think Mackenzie Dern went for omoplata in the last 10 seconds, and Rodriguez was laughing because she knew it was close of the end of the round, so she wasn't going to catch her. And the fifth round was Rodriguez had also better cardio, man. I feel like Dern, how do you say that? After the second round, she couldn't get anything done anymore. She didn't do bad at all or something, but Marina was just a step before her every time, in every round, besides the second time. She got her down in the second round. She did well there, and she got her down on the end of the fourth round. But all the other rounds kept standing, and Marina did perfect. It was either that, man. We talked about it last week. You said if she can keep it standing, Marina will win, and I agree with you on that. I went with Dern because I thought if she could get her to the ground, she could submit her. And she couldn't. She had a good chance on the second round. She didn't do that. Overall, great performance by Marina, and I hope she fights Joanna next. I think that's a perfect fight. And I don't think Joanna wants to fight, but that's a perfect fight in my opinion.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I picked Marina was because I do look at the stats, and one stat that really stood out for me was the 10% takedown accuracy for Dern. And believe it or not, it's still 10% after this fight because she only went 1 for 8, and it didn't really change it. Maybe it's 11% now. I'm looking at it, still says 10. So the fact of the matter remains, Marcel, I don't necessarily think that she needs to be improving her striking, that's Mackenzie Dern. I don't think she really needs great striking. I think she needs better wrestling because as soon as she gets the fight down, man, she wins. You know what I mean? Every single time. But it stays standing, she's in trouble. So anyways, sorry, it's got a message from Chris about the fight. I'm telling him Cole's doing it. All right, cool. I can't do it. I'm talking to you guys. So there we go. All right, cool. And for Dern, Marcel, I don't think it's like, the end of the world. She's still super young, 28 years old. But like I said, I think that she needs to improve in that wrestling. For sure. That's the one thing. Huh? Pardon?
Give her Cadelia.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think that's a winnable fight too, two grappler-based fighters. And even on the feet, she'd be competitive, I think. Gadelia was a good fighter, but I think the sports passed her by a bit. I really do, I think she was really good 5 years ago. She's not as good as she was anymore. Let me get these comments. Go ahead.
It's almost like Jessica Aguilar when she fought, when
she came? Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, like, that top of that division, you got Zhang, who is pretty much a striker. Joanna's pretty much a striker. Marina is as well. You got Mackenzie Dern. She's a BJJ. Amanda Ribas, same. We got Carla as a wrestler, we got Rose, who's pretty much overall very good. She's also pretty much better on the ground, in my opinion, but she has a good striking as well. So Rose is pretty much the most complete fighter of all of them, and she's a champion. So yeah.
Well, she is. Although I think her wrestling could improve too, you know what I mean? Like she has amazing submissions and great striking, but I think her wrestling is still something she could work on. Well, it's still good. It's obviously good. Let me get these comments. Glenn, hey Glenn, he says maybe UFC could promote her better next time. Delta skateboard promo garnered much interest. That was just I was kind of scratching my head about that. I didn't think it was too interesting, to be honest with you. Like there's gotta be something more interesting about Marina that she skateboards by the sea, right? Like there's gotta be something more interesting about this girl.
Yeah, I told you last time, man, when Rodriguez was in front of Dern, remember in the rankings, and I said they're gonna push Dern above Rodriguez so they can promote Dern versus Rodriguez because I think Dern is better, and they did.
And again, that's one of the reasons I just don't think that you know if you're a journalist, you should be doing the rankings because you're affecting the placement of fighters on the cards, the posters, everything. That should be something that again, why does it matter what? And I don't want to, he's my friend. We work with him here at MMAOB. We've got Brian Heminger, and I like Brian, and I respect his opinion. But no offense to Brian, it's like I don't really care about his rankings. I'd like to see Sean Shelby's rankings. I'd like to see Mick Maynard's rankings. Why don't the UFC just release their own internal rankings? Why do we need to see the media's skewed rankings? I'd rather see what the UFC really thinks. Like to be honest with Marcel, one of the things I love about Contender Series when they show like Mick Maynard or Sean Shelby and they talk about the guy for like a minute. I love that because it gives you insight into what they saw when they were watching these guys, when they watched the tape on these guys. And to me, those guys are two of the smartest people in the game. You can say what you want about the matchmaking sometimes, but it's damn good in the UFC. You know what I mean? It's really good, and they know what they're doing. So any thoughts, Marcel? And then I want to get these comments.
Yeah, I just want to also address, like, last time, remember, Betch Correa against Carl Rosa and Kanako Murata against was the Brazilian girl again who kind of come around that fought last time.
Jandiroba, I think, was it?
Yeah, Jandiroba, yeah. Both were ranked, Jandiroba and Rosa, and they were blue corner. Why? It's so weird sometimes, I don't get that.
Yeah.
And Bellator, they do that.
The rankings are corrupt enough without Shelby and Maynard doing them. Well, I'd rather see what the UFC actually says, you know what I mean, than the media. Like, there's only like 10 media people doing it, guys. It's not like it's 100 media members. It's not like it's. I think there's some other sports that do use media, but it's like they have a lot more people that do it. You know what I mean? It's not like 10 people.
Shelby and Maynard do it, man. We can actually know what they're seeing.
Exactly. So long as I'm watching, I look at the matchups, I wonder why did they book this fight, right? Yeah, exactly, Marcel. I'm with you. So Jose was impressed by Marina's sub defense. So was I, and he thinks Dern should learn that single leg from Gamrot. Hey, I'm with you, and I know she's very, very, very comfortable there in California. Maybe it's time to make a move to a big gym like an American Top Team or something like that, Marcel, where she could train with better fighters. Like, I'm still wondering, who is she really training with besides Jason Pearl and as her coach? Like, who's her training partners? Like, does she have anyone like an American Top Team where she would train with someone like, for instance, Joanna? I'm not saying that. I don't know if Joanna's actively there right now, but obviously she was there, right? So, you know what I mean, Marcel? Like, I think going to those camps and training with bigger camps and better fighters, that's how you get better in the sport. And I think, she's under Jason Pearl, she's working her boxing, but she needs to work on a lot of other stuff too. Dern is good, and she's still potentially be like one of the best, but she's got to do something different, Marcel, because what we just saw didn't work, right? And if she doesn't get that sub, it doesn't work for her for the most part. Cole says Ian Highness versus Sam Alvey is just booked. There we go. Sam Alvey gets another fight. I mean, does he really deserve it? Probably not, but Dana White loves the guy for some reason. They just love him. They love Sam Alvey. By the way, Jose was asking if Gregor and Armin's a go. So Armin said that the fight was offered to him. Gregor, I don't know if it's accepted or. Have you heard anything, Marcel, about that fight?
No, I haven't heard anything about it.
Just what Armin said, I guess. Because he said it was just booked. All right, let's go to the next fight here. Jared Gooden and Randy Brown. Jared Gooden missed weight, but Randy Brown took care of business. It was a competitive fight, and he broke his toe in the first round, but managed to go the 15 minutes and won a decision there, Marcel. So any thoughts on his performance? I thought Brown looked good.
Yeah, Brown looked good. He had an injured toe after the first part of the first round. So he did well. I think I expected a finish from him, but I think considering him being injured on his toe and still winning all 3 rounds, he did very well. So yeah,
I think Gooden is one. I'm in a pool where you have to pick the method too, and I picked a decision here, even though the finish was favored at the sportsbook, just because Gooden's very durable, man. You can, like I said, Marcel last week, he's a tough guy. He went 3 hard rounds with Juban, 3 hard rounds with Abubakar, and now 3 with Randy Brown. He was knocked out. I can't remember who knocked him out. Bruno Oliveira, I think it was, in Titan FC. That was at middleweight. At welterweight, very, very durable guy. But he missed weight, Marcel. Does he get another contract or does he get cut? 1-3 now in the UFC.
I'm not sure, man. I would say it's difficult.
I would. I honestly would give him another fight. I know his record's not good, but I think he's proven he's a decent fighter, besides the weight miss, obviously.
You saw Randy Brown's tweet about the purse.
That's the biggest problem here. I agree with him too. So the thing about this thing was he missed by 3 pounds, and in my opinion, he only got 20%. I think it should be 10% a pound. So because he missed by 3, it should be 30%. I'm surprised he only agreed to 20%. Like, that's something they can negotiate, but he ended up getting 20. But for me, it's like 1 pound up to like 50%. I don't think if you miss by like half pound, you should get 50% of your purse taken away. The other thing is, a lot of people have said, they should start fight with points taken away or, on the something like that. I don't agree with that, Marcel. That's not a fair fight at that point, honestly. So yeah, it's not a fair fight when the guy misses weight. I'll agree with that too. But at the same time, I don't agree with like that road FC system where they actually take points away or you can't win. There were some fighters in road FC, Marcel, because they missed weight, they weren't even allowed to win. Like it would still be it wouldn't be a win. It'd be a no contest on their record, even if they won. I don't think that's going to fly in the States, guys, and under the unified rules. I don't think the commissions will do that. So for me, it's something where I do think the punishment should be more, but I don't think it should be something that actually impacts the scoring of the fight. You know what I mean, Marcel? Any thoughts on that?
Actually, I'm positive on taking points before fights. I don't agree with you on it. But The thing is, for me, it's like I would say for every I don't want to say for let's put it this way. If you miss weight once, okay, just a percentage of your purse, that would be good. If you do it again, I would take a point for every pound you miss weight. So yeah, and then listen, man, then it sucks. If you miss over 3 pounds, you get 3 points minus. You have to finish the fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or or if you win on points with 30-27, you still have a draw.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You got to do something with this, man. I said last time, you have to take 90%. I don't think that's possible, but you have to do something different, man. Because 10%, 50%. They're still going to miss weight. 20%, 30%, they're still going to miss weight,
Yeah.
And I don't say they do it on purpose, but you got to do something about it.
Yeah, it's tough. But like I said, I think my system's decent. 1 pound for 10% for each pound, right? And again, in this case, it would have been 30%. Because I think there's a difference between missing by half a pound if a guy comes in at 171.5 or a guy comes in at 173. That should be a different punishment, in my opinion, Marcel.
What do you do if you remember with Ricardo Llamas against Charles Oliveira when you missed by 10 pounds? What you do then?
You cancel the fight once it's over a certain weight limit. I think 5 pounds, maybe something like that. Because I remember that fight. Didn't they switch the weight class? I want to say. I can't remember, but all I remember is I did bet Ricardo Llamas that night. I was in Mexico and I bet on him as an underdog, and I won some money on him. So it was a long time ago. Hey, Owen, what's up, man? He's asking for an early prediction. We did talk about right off the top of the show, Owen, but it was right off the top, so you probably missed it. I think both of us kind of feel like Edward should be favored in that fight. So I guess that would be my early prediction. I like Masvidal, though. It should be a fun fight. It's only 3 rounds, by the way. It's not 5, guys. I would have preferred 5 for this fight, Marcel. Kind of disappointed it's only 3. I'm not going to lie. I think it's a fight that should have been 5 rounds, don't you?
Yeah, but if you ask me for a prediction, Edward's 30-27.
Yeah. Owens, by the way, he is suggesting 20% and 10% each pound. After that, yeah, I mean that could work too. Jose is asking about Melsick and Laramie. I think did you ask James today, Jose? I think you asked him as well. And I know James said he likes Laramie in this fight. I mean, hey, I'm Canadian too. And I love Laramie as well, but Melsick, man, looked really impressive in that last fight. And I got to be honest, I obviously made a bad pick with England, but I do see some holes in Melsick's game. But man, he looked amazing in the last fight. Although Laramie's great too, so it's tough. Laramie fought Derek Minner. That guy could take your neck at any point. This is a different fight. He's fighting a striker now. Laramie, look, Owen likes Laramie too. So there you go, Jose. Let's go to the next fight here, Marcel. Matthias Nicolau and Tim Elliott. So pretty clear 29-28 for Matthias Nicolau for everyone in the world except for James Krause. And James was the first one to admit he fucking blew this one, guys. He really didn't help his fighter here. At the end of the day, it's the fight. It's Tim Elliott's fault. He was holding on for dear life. And this fight, guys, is the perfect example of why I don't like open scoring. Because if he knew he's up 2018, Marcel, he was content with holding on for dear life for that final 5 minutes. You saw it, Marcel, yourself. He's like, am I up? Yeah, you're up. He just was holding on. That's all he wanted to do, Tim Elliott. He stopped fighting in that 3rd round, and it cost him. And I do think if you do have open scoring and a guy sees he's up 2018, they might do the same thing. And it's not their fault. Just because of the way the show win works in MMA, where you get half your money if you win, I can't blame someone if they would want to coast in that 3rd round. I can't blame them under that kind of system. So it cost him, though, in this fight. You got to fight hard for 50 minutes. Tim Elliott took his foot off the gas and lost. I think it was a good decision by the judges, personally, Marcel. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so actually this morning I had a Dutch podcast with Dennis Corman and Gilbert Eiffel about this. Yep. And I asked Gilbert the same thing, like if you had a coach in your corner who's saying like you're up this or that, what do you think about it? And he's like, I never wanted it in my corner. He says, I fucking fight and I know if I'm up or not. He says, I know if I'm fighting bad or I'm fighting good. I never ask my corner if I'm up rounds. I'm just going there to win the fight, however I can win the fight. And the thing is, like, I don't want to be too hard on James Krause because I think he's an amazing coach, phenomenal guy, and also he came right after the event. He said, "I fucked up," and I think that takes courage as well. You don't see many coaches.
Oh no, never. Not in this sport. In this sport, Marcel, there's very few people that are willing to admit when they're wrong. Fighters, coaches, referees, officials, judges. No one wants to admit when they screw up in the sport. So it took balls for him to go and make a statement saying that basically cost his fighter the fight. I mean, at the end of the day, guys, it is Tim Elliott's fight. It's not his coach's fight. He wasn't the one in the cage, but the advice was very poor for sure. It was a clear 1-1. It was so clear it was 1-1 going to the 3rd round, Marcel.
You know what the problem is, man? In that 2nd round, Tim Elliott keep coming forward and trying to stalk him. But he didn't touch him very well, And Matthias Nicolau did perfect with his counter striking. And if you are kind of biased to your fighter. You see that he's walking forward, but you also have to see the other side, that you fighter got counterpunched the whole damn time, so it was 1-1. And I understand that it's maybe difficult, Listen, man, we see from perfect angles that whole fight on TV, James Cross is only in one corner, and yes, maybe difficult. But still, man, if it's a close, listen, man, you never can say it was a clear round for Elliott. So if it's close, never tell your fighter you're 2-0 up.
It was too close to say, hey, I think you're up 2 rounds. Like, I don't know why I said that. I even tweeted, I'm like, right when it happened, I was like, why did he just say he's up 2 rounds? And I was on Nicola. I did bet on this fight. I just watched it, but I did pick him. Mm-hmm. But if you were betting on Tim Elliott and had money on him, I could imagine how pissed you'd be if you heard that. It was like last week with Johnny Walker when John Kavanagh told him he was up. Exact same thing. Why lie to your fighter? Even if it's that close, you got to tell him, hey, guys, it's so close. I have no clue what the judges are thinking. You got to go finish the fight. That's what I would say.
Give me safe sound, man. He just tells you, like,
just with Kennedy's down 2 rounds. Kennedy, you got to knock him out, man. You're down 2 rounds. You got to knock him out. With his other fights. All right, let me get these comments. Rodell Fizz, you have 5 rounds over home, Dumont and Tate Vieira. Yeah, I heard your comment, Jose, as well, and I agree completely. I think that fight should have been 5 rounds. I know that Home and Tate have big names, but that fight is way more interesting to me. Home Dumont's canceled. Yeah, and it was Elliott. He's lying on his back, holding the rubber guard. It was hard to watch. And again, I do think, guys, if you have open scoring, you'll see more of that. If you see guys up 2018, Marcel, you're going to see more of that. It's not like you see less of that. I don't like open scoring, personally.
What is that weird thing with the UFC by giving Tate Vieira and actually first Holm Dumont a main event fight 5 rounds, man? I mean, no disrespect to that weight class or whatever, but really, I don't know anybody who is very, very happy about those fights.
I'm with you. And, for me, it's like, okay, I love the card coming up. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say anything bad about a stacked pay-per-view because 268 is stacked. But John Strickland and Luke Rockhold would have been a great 5-round main event. You know what I mean? Gaethje and Chandler would have been a good 5. Even Frankie Edgar and Vera would be a good 5-round main event. So, for me, it's like, I love when they do stack the cards. It obviously makes it exciting when you have a great card like that. But I almost feel like that card's too stacked, if anything, Marcel. That makes sense because you have too many weak main events coming up. Anyways, let's go to the next fight.
The fucking prelims of those pay-per-views are better than the actual fight night's main cards.
Yes. 100%. I mean, this last card, it turned out to be an okay card, I guess, but it wasn't the best on paper, no doubt about it. I mean, it's just.
But just before people come in with sexism, I had no problem with the Marina Rodriguez Mackenzie Dern main event. I think it was an amazing fight, and I had a problem with that as a main event beforehand. I think it was a phenomenal fight, But I don't feel the Dumont lad. I don't feel the Tate Vieira as a main event.
Dumont lad is just because of the circumstances. Let's be honest. That's the only reason that's a main event. Tate Vieira wasn't. I mean, they wanted it to be main event. I don't really want to see 5 rounds of that fight personally, but is what it is. And I feel like the 5 rounds probably favors Misha because we saw Caitlin gas out a few times now. All right, let's go to the next fight here, Marcel. And she looked great. Maria Agapova looked awesome, guys, against Sabino Mazo. Another great performance for her, Marcel. So had an amazing fight against Hannah Cyphers, had a letdown fight against Shayna Dobson that was back and looked incredible in this fight. Both her fights, guys, against Cyphers and Mazo, she dropped both girls and immediately took their back and their neck and choked them out. Like, she smells blood when it happens, Marcel, and I love that about her. And to me, she looked really good in this fight. The striking looked better. The movement looked better. The cardio looked better. Marcel, we're talking about a contender here, I think, right now. Marcel, she keeps improving. She's only 24 years old. Works on that cardio. This girl's dangerous, man. Give me your thoughts on Maria, Marcel.
Yeah, horrible pick by me, man. It was
me too. Bad pick. It was just based on the cardio, and it was a bad pick.
Same.
It was.
I had 2 bad picks on this card, and it was Dern and Mazo, and this one, Agapova dominated from the start to finish, and she landed an amazing hard shot to the jaw, I think. Yep. And Mazo went down, and man, she had that rear naked choke so quick, and Mazo knew she was dazed. She was never coming out, so she tapped it immediately. Amazing performance by Agapova and a much deserved performance of the night bonus for her as well, man.
Man, she needs it. I was reading that story about her last week. She was saying how she was riding a bike 6 hours a day before that Dobson fight, or before the Cyphers fight where she won the bonus, just because she had no money. And she was saying how her training camp, everything's gone better now. So she looked happy, Marcel. She looked good. Now she wants to go punish what's her name, Marina Moroz, because of she said she was like a drug addict or something. I want to say. I'd like to see that fight just because of the bad blood. I'm pretty sure Agapova wins that fight, to be honest with you. So, but it'd be a good fight to watch. Opening up the main card, Marcel. Go ahead.
Moros never fights, man. She just pulls
out of every fight. Exactly, she does. All right, let's go to the main card opener. Chris Gutierrez defeats Felipe Colares via split decision. What the terrible. I mean, when you have two judges that have 30-27, the other 29-28, I mean, you could just tell it's a bad call. I think he won 30-27, at best 29-28 for at worst. He won the fight for sure, and that's a bad scorecard for Colares. It was a competitive fight, Marcel, but pretty clear that Gutierrez won the fight with the striking and the takedown even. So give me your thoughts on Gutierrez, because this guy, to me, is a little bit underrated in the division. He's actually on a 6-fight unbeaten streak right now.
Yeah, I mean, let's first talk about the judge, Rick Winter. What the fuck you were watching, dude? I mean, I can understand you give the first round to Colares, but the second round, that's horrible, you know?
That's really bad to give him the second round. Made no sense. He literally threw, I looked at the stats, and again, stats don't tell the whole story. I know that. I get that. But when a guy lands 39 significant strikes, the other guy lands 20, there's no takedowns, there's no knockdowns, nothing. It's pretty obvious the guy who landed double the amount of strikes won the round.
I mean, it wasn't a bad fight. I think it was an okay fight. Gutierrez did what he had to do. You know, I think most people expected him to win. I had him also via decision. So, yeah, I think Colares is a guy who's kind of underrated, man. I like the dude. He's not bad, you know, but I feel like he's kind of a guy who might get cut from the UFC at this moment, you know. But yeah, I don't really dislike him at all. I think he's been competitive in all of his fights, man. But he just had some bad luck sometimes with how the fights went. This time, he actually was lucky with a split decision. Should have been unanimous for Gutierrez. But yeah.
I think Colares is decent. I mean, he's not too bad. I'd keep him around for another fight. I'm looking at Rick Winter's MMA decisions. So he's been judging fights since 2009. And I'm looking at overall, guys, he's actually not a bad judge at all. He's actually a decent judge. This is one of the weirdest scorecards he's ever had if you look at his MMA decisions, because the only other split decision he's had all year, actually in the last three years, was Gonitas and Penny. He actually was the one who scored it for Gonitas, who should have won that fight. So this is the first real split that I've ever disagreed with him having. I guess, everyone can have a bad night. Thankfully, it didn't cost the guy the fight. I'll say that. You know what I mean, Mars? Thankfully, because that would have been brutal if another judge scored 29-28. That would have been just wow.
I was watching that fight, so I was like, it was over. I think, okay, Gutierrez won. So I was on my phone. And then I hear judge. Then you hear Bruce Buffer saying, "We're going to the judge's scorecard for decision." Judge, and then says the name. I will hear this. It's like, what is this split decision? Well, you hear the name of the judge, it's a split decision. So it's like,
yeah, it was bizarre. By the way, Jose, let's talk about this fight. King Tom Romanov. I mean, he looked fantastic. No surprise. I mean, let's be honest, guys. He was a -700 favorite. We all picked him to win this fight. Vandera, he's a very tough guy. He's a big dude. And he's a decent striker, Marcel, but the takedown defense is not there. Now, 2 fights in a row, or two of the last 3 fights, Spivak and Romanov both took him down, beat him up, and finished him. So he's got an issue with the ground game. With Romanov, though, doesn't. Romanov's ground game is phenomenal. And it looks like Espino just was a bad matchup for him stylistic because he's another grappler. And if he fights anyone that he can take down, he's gonna punish them on the ground, Marcel. I was once again impressed. I think he should have got a bonus too. He looked amazing in this fight. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, he looked great from start to finish. Suplexing like it was like a 115 pounder. He was throwing around. So it's like, yeah. I mean, what can you say? Perfect.
Well, what's next? That's the question. What's next? Because I think at this point,
definitely a ranked guy.
Yeah. So let's look at the rankings. Number 15, because he's not ranked. Number 15 is Spivak. You could do that fight. I mean, Spivak did lose against Aspinall, right? But he's ranked 15, guys. And when you're ranked 15, you gotta fight guys that are below you. And this is a guy that's trying to break the rankings. The other guy would be Blagoy Ivanov at number 13 and number 12, Walt Harris. Any of those guys make sense, just like Jose suggested. I would like Spivak just because they both beat Videra by the same method, exact same way the fight ended. I know, again, Spivak just lost his last fight, but it'd be interesting to see him fight another grappler. So I'm fine with that. Or Ivanov would be a good one too. So any thoughts on who he should fight next?
Yeah, Ivanov would be good, man. I think that makes sense. Why not?
Sure, let's do that fight. All right, let's go to the next fight here, guys. Damon Jackson defeats Charles Rosa. I mean, this was honestly one of the bloodiest fights I think I've seen in the UFC, just based on one cut too, which is crazy. Damon Jackson controlled the first 2 rounds. Third round, Rosa throws a spinning back elbow and cuts him open. I gotta be honest, Marcel, I thought the fight was gonna get stopped because it was so much blood. It was coming out so fast. The whole octagon was covered in. The doctor was like, "No, he's fine. Let him go." I was surprised, but at the same time, I mean, it was a great fight. So I'm glad they got to finish it. Both guys are warriors. Charles Rosa just can't string wins together. Marcel, win-loss again for this guy. But Damon Jackson, a good win for him in the UFC. So any thoughts on this fight? I mean, it was a heck of a fight.
Yeah, man, Damon Jackson, not anymore the leech, but the league after this fight. I mean, wow, man, the amount of blood he was losing in that third round is crazy. That was really like pouring out of his eyebrow there, or next to his eyebrow. And I said I love the doctor because, man, that would have been so awful if he won the first 2 rounds, Damon Jackson, and then he got hit by an elbow. If they stopped that fight, that would have sucked for him, But I mean, Rosa did well in the third round, I still think it was close. The third round, that could have been 30-27, could have been 29-28. Either way, for Jackson, I think Jackson won the first 2 rounds. But
I think the third round Rosa won. I do think because he did. I mean, and the stats back it up again, and way more damage. And you look at the numbers. You look at the numbers, Marcel. The strike stats in the third round. Again, he lost the fight, obviously, but the third round. 59-3 in strikes landed. So, I mean, that's a pretty big number. So, I know Jackson had the control, obviously, guys, but you got to look at the damage because that really is
that's
what
why
it
I scored it for Rosa the third round.
But still, I mean, or Jackson won the fight.
Yeah, it was a great fight.
Yeah, it was a great fight. Could have won fight in the night. Glenn's talking about Aspinall, Dawkins, Romanov. I mean, there's a lot of good guys. And I think 205 is also getting better. You got some young guys at 205 as well. So, I think both these divisions, as the sport grows, you are seeing better athletes get into the sport and to do this. But yeah, man, Romanov looked great again. And he's asking about Lucas Bresky, who could fight his debut. He didn't look very good, obviously, in Contender Series. I think he should have got a contract because, they do need heavyweights. He got to finish. It wasn't like it was a terrible performance. It was just an okay performance. He got a deal because he's a heavyweight, let's be honest. I don't know who, Vandera maybe. Maybe just do Vandera versus Bresky. You could do that fight, Marcel. And that's a fight Lucas can win. And he also could lose that fight, too. It's a pretty fair fight.
Do him against Daniel.
Who?
George's Daniel.
Oh, George's Daniel. You know what? I was thinking about that guy today. I was thinking, man, we see some crazy upsets in heavyweight MMA sometimes. I was thinking, that guy knocking out Yorga De Castro was one of the bigger ones. That's crazy. All right, 2 more fights here. Lupita Gonitas defeats Sylvana Gomez-Juarez. I got to be honest, so we didn't get a chance to talk about this fight. Once I did my research into Juarez, I really liked her, Marcel. She's a good fighter. She has good experience, good stand-up, nasty striker, but the takedown defense was not there in this fight. And Gonitas had an amazing performance, Marcel. Steamrolled her in this fight, gets the finish, well deserving of bonus. Lupita looked great in this fight. Give me your thoughts on her performance, Marcel.
Yeah, like I said on Twitter, man, Lupi gave her ass whoopie. I mean, it was very one-sided, one-sided fight. She looked very good, and I was happy for Goodinger, man. I still think I'm gonna say it again, she got robbed in the first fight. I think she won that. Should have been still be undefeated, and now she wins with a finish, and she gets a bonus. Perfect, man. I mean, she did very well. And for Sylvana Gomez-Juarez, I hope she fights soon again, and I hope she can have a full training camp. Although she was supposed to fight on Tuesday during the Contender Series, right? But,
that's what I'm saying. Like, she was supposed to fight tomorrow, actually. And she got signed. She's an older fighter. I get it. But, again, watching her fights, she's impressive. It's just this was too much for her on the ground, especially. I mean, and that worries you going forward because her ground game didn't look good. I do think she's a good striker, though. So if she fights another striker, I think she'll probably win that fight. Let's go to the last fight here, Marcel. And to be honest with you, this fight was really good, too. It's surprisingly good. Fun fight. Charlie Ontiveros, Steve Garcia, first round, guys. And as someone who parlayed Garcia, I'm pretty sure all of us did. I mean, that was really, really sketchy, that first round. That was so sketchy. Not only does Ontiveros knock him down once, he knocked him down twice, one with an axe kick and then with a punch. And, I mean, let's be honest, anyone who had Garcia in a parlay is freaking out at that point because he gets dropped twice. But once again, Charlie Ontiveros proves that he's just not a UFC fighter, Marcel. Drops the guy twice, can't finish him, and then gets finished himself. And Sideshow Bob was covered in blood at the end of the fight, Marcel. Second round finish for Garcia. I thought this was a great fight. I'm kind of surprised there wasn't a bonus award for someone in this fight. I don't know if it was fight of the night because it didn't go that long, but I think Garcia probably could have got a bonus too. I like the fight. It was a fun one, but I got to be honest, Marcel, I will be probably fading Steve Garcia's next fight if he fights someone that has power because it sure looked like he couldn't take a punch in this fight. He's very lucky that he has a ground game and Ontiveros has no ability to stop a takedown. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, man, super fun fight to open the card with. Yeah, Sideshow Bob, he started very well, 2 knockdowns. They still have the first round to Garcia, I think, man. All 3 judges.
I don't know. I don't agree with that, man. He got dropped
Me
twice.
neither. Yeah.
2 knockdowns, guys. I mean, it's not just 1 knockdown and control, and the other guy 2 knockdowns. So yeah, you did control, you did damage. I get the last 10 seconds or whatever, you really smashed his face in. That swayed the judges. But to me, you drop a guy twice in a round, it's very hard, I think, for the other guy to win that round back on it. You know what I mean, Marcel? But this could have been the one situation where maybe he did. I don't know. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was a good comeback from Steve Garcia. You needed that one, obviously.
Yeah.
I think for Gutierrez is done in the UFC.
You think they don't give him one more after he showed some power in this fight, maybe?
I maybe, man. I wouldn't be against it, but I don't know.
I think there's got to be someone that can give in the roster. Let me take a look. There's got to be someone that's pretty. I mean, let's be honest. He's not a good fighter, but let me take a look here. Endeavor record. Okay, so lightweights. All right, so you got Alex Munoz 0-2, Rafa Garcia, or he got a fight booked. So yeah, it would be. There's not many guys that are 0-2 actually and have losing records. It would be Herbert, who's booked against Worthy. Soriano's booked. Yeah, it would have to be Alex Munoz. That'd be the only guy really, Marshall. Or Brandon Jenkins would be a decent. Maybe that would be the guy. That Brandon Jenkins guy. That actually, you know what? That's the fight to make because let's be honest, Brandon probably knocks him out with like some spinning shit and. Maybe just give Charlie one more chance to throw that axe kick again. That was pretty nuts. Let's talk about this. So I think that's it for the card. Let's talk about this. Glenn's asking about.
Oh yeah.
And Jose, this is actually a really good fight too on Tavares Valdez. It makes sense. I'm going to talk about contender series in a minute, but I want to talk about this first. That Glenn asked, then we'll do contender series. Glenn's asking thoughts on Haas training on the fight last minute. Smart. Multi-field ref the game. So that was crazy. So on Friday, I have to send my full breakdowns to Elite. And I mean, I the writing takes a while. And Marcel warned me quickly in the morning. As soon as I woke up, he goes, "Hey man, this fight's not happening." So Chris, you said the fight's not happening, and I think you told me Chris Curtis might step in. You weren't sure at that point. Then we find out Chris Curtis was stepping in, right? Then Phil Haas. Okay, you know what, Marcel? I think you should actually describe everything that happened with the Phil Haas situation. Go ahead.
So I got notice that Darren Wynn was out and that Phil Haas was going to fight Chris Curtis, and that was agreed on. That's what I got. So I posted it. After that, all big medias also posted it. And even the UFC came with an official press release where they say Darren Wynn is out due to health issues, none related to his weight cut, and Chris Curtis is stepping in to fight Phil Haas. Official by the UFC. Then Chris Curtis gets onto the scales, makes weight, but no sign of Phil Haas. And then out of nowhere, Phil Haas actually didn't accept the fight, turned it down. So there is no fight. Then James Cross said, I want to have the fight at 185. I can make weight. Let me do it. UFC was okay with it. But the commission wanted to be on home time, or wanted to go home on time to have their lunch. So they couldn't do it. It sucks, overall. And the only thing that is good is that Chris Curtis is now in the UFC. 3 years too late, but he's in the UFC. And, we'll see what happens next. And for Haas, man, I don't know, man. I mean, you were supposed to fight Win. And now you could fight Curtis on short notice. Curtis with no preparation. Dehydrated probably from weight cutting. I mean, I don't think it's a good look, but hey, who am I,
Yeah, exactly. Who are we? We're just some guys who do a podcast. Honestly, we're not fighters.
Like I always say, Couch Kent.
We are. I mean, we love the sport. Me and Marcel, we know the sport just like you guys do. But our opinion doesn't mean shit when it comes to a guy's career. Obviously, Phil Haas isn't going to listen to us. He's going to listen to his team. His team, I think they gave him bad advice because I think the UFC will hold this against him. I think they often hold this against the guy. I'll give you an example. Jonathan Pierce. He was supposed to fight Gabriel Benitez. Benitez missed weight by 5 pounds, and he said, "I'm not taking the fight." Benitez actually had a fight against Quarantillo before they booked Jonathan Pierce for another fight. He just fought Morales and won. So it ultimately ended up as a good decision for him, but he got put in the shelf for like 6 months after that, Marcel. And I wouldn't surprise you at all if they did the same thing to Phil Haas. They were like, you know what, Phil, you didn't want to fight. We're going to throw you in the shelf for 6 months. All they have to do is, I think, offer a fight, like 3 fights a year. He declined the fight. Therefore, the contract, I think, tolls a little bit longer. So to me, it's like, that's what I think is going to happen. They're going to be upset by him. And I feel like they're going to give him a harder fight, if anything, in his next fight. I think they're going to be like, you know what? We're going to give you someone even harder to fight. And quite frankly, Marcel, I think he would have beaten Chris Curtis. As much as I do like Chris Curtis as a striker, I don't trust the takedown defense. And he was a minus 450 favorite to win because the odds actually opened up for the fight before it was canceled. So I think it was a bad call by Phil. But again, who am I? I'm just some podcaster and journalist, guys. I'm not a fighter, and I'm not part of Phil Haas' team at Sanford MMA. All right, let's talk about contender series now because because they want to talk about it, so do I. So let's start from the bottom, work way up, because let's start talking about this fight right away. Gennaro, Valdez, and Patrick White. If you didn't see this fight last Tuesday, go back and watch this fight. This fight was amazing, guys. It was an amazing fight. I understand it was a sloppy fight. Now, I get it. It wasn't a technical fight, but, I have people saying this is a bar fight. Come on, man. This wasn't good. These guys are at UFC caliber. Not a bar fight at all, guys. Come on. The first round was actually not really striking based. It was mostly Valdez trying to get White to the ground. Marcel was all against the fence. Once he realized he couldn't get him down, Marcel, then it was Valdez just going crazy with the strike, with the striking, and White going nuts on him. And White hurt him bad, and then somehow White's mouth guard got knocked out a couple times. He had a cheap mouth guard, not good. Valdez gets the knockout. I had people telling me this guy shouldn't get signed. Are you guys kidding me? What are you looking for? What do you think Dana's looking for, guys? He wants an exciting fighter. This guy will probably get his ass kicked in the UFC, let's be honest with you. He's probably not very good. He's probably not worthy, but I think he deserved his opportunity. I think he earned it with the win in this fight. It was a hell of a fight, and I think he deserved the opportunity. So that's my thought. Marcel, you there?
Yeah, man. What's up?
I don't see your face, dude. Your picture's gone. There you go. Marcus. Hey, thanks, man. Marcus says he loves the show. I appreciate it, Marcus. One of my favorite guys here. Nubian Bookstore over there. Go to his website and order a shirt from Marcus. What's going on with the weight cuts? Okay, we'll talk about that in a second now, Glenn. Let me just finish the card first, and we're going to talk about that. But yeah, Marcel, I really love the fight. You know what I mean? I get it. The guy's striking defense is bad and everything, but don't you think if you're going to war and you're going to fight for the death for the UFC, they're going to give you a fight in the UFC, right? On Contender Series, So Joseph Holmes, though, didn't get a fight or shot in the UFC. He gets a fight on Fury Fighting Championship, I think, next month. Who's he fighting? Do you know who's fighting? I have no idea.
No, I don't know, but since Chris Curtis pulled out of the fight, and
that's what I was thinking it was, because Curtis was supposed to fight on that card next month, right? So maybe that was the fight they were going to do, Marcel. Maybe that's what they were thinking. I don't know. I mean, I think he should have got a contract too. I honestly think so. What do you think? I would have given him one.
Yeah, why not?
I don't understand why Dana, I respect his opinion, obviously, but sometimes I feel like he makes mistakes with signing guys and not signing them. Again, Chris Curtis, Austin Vanderford, another guy, Julius Inglickus is a really good fighter. He's fighting for the belt this weekend, Marcel, at Bellator.
Yeah.
Dana White he got a finish and they passed on him. So
sometimes I feel like they know already who they're going to sign.
That's what I think too. And I'm like, why do they even give this guy a fight? All right, let's go to this guy. Fernie Garcia knocks out Josh Williams. I mean, I like Garcia. And definitely looked good in this fight. Carlos Hernandez against Daniel Barras, very close fight. I thought Hernandez edged it out ever so slightly. He gets a contract. I would hope they give Barras another fight on Contender Series at least, if not a short notice fight in the UFC, because I do think he's UFC caliber. He's just underneath that level, Marcel? And the last fight, obviously, Mike Belot, he looked great against Shimon. And I was a little bit worried, guys, last week, obviously, because Shimon's so much younger and Milan hasn't really been that active, but my God, as soon as he got the fight to the ground, Marcel, you saw the difference in the ground game. So he gets a contract, which I was happy to see that. I mean, it's crazy. I remember seeing this guy fight. You know what's crazy, Marcel? I saw him fight in a hockey arena. And I tweeted about this last week. 7 years ago, at this event called Substance Cage Combat. I'm going to show you to see where you're going to pull it up. Cody Saftik, who's a betting guy, he actually was a matchmaker for this event.
Saftik guy who always with the MMA Lock of the Night.
Yes. And MMA Lock of the Night is a friend of mine as well, and he was actually at the event too. So I remember he was there. He was actually, I think, helping the promotion a little bit. So it's crazy, Marcel, because you look at this card. Alex Ricci ended up fighting the UFC. Kyle Nelson went to the UFC, and Mike Malott went to the UFC. So I saw some random card guys in some hockey arena, and 3 of the fighters ended up in the UFC one day. You never know where someone's going to end in the UFC, Marcel, and this is why I do enjoy regional MMA, because sometimes these guys emerge out of nowhere, and you're like, damn. Any thoughts on these Contender Series fights before we move on a little bit?
It was a good night, and I was on time in my bed before 4 a.m., so I was happy.
Yeah. All right, Glenn, here we go. We're going to talk about this now. What's going on with the Dana White misses, Contender Series misses, running out of fighters who act professional, or fighters getting more desperate for an advantage? All right, so I have a few different thoughts about this. Number one, it's a bad look, okay? And this is essentially a job interview. That's basically what it is, a job interview. This is the first time Dana White's ever seen these guys. Dana even says, I don't read about these guys. I don't look up their tape, nothing. The matchmakers do that. Dana just goes in there blind. That's what he says. He's got some notes in front of him, and that's it. So he doesn't know who these guys are. But if he sees that you miss weight, he won't sign you because I'll tell you right now, this is a fact. This is the 5th year of Contender Series, I believe. Not one person who's missed weight has ever been signed by Dana White to the UFC. Now, at the same time, I don't know how many guys who have missed weight have actually won their fights. But I do remember there was a guy, I think, last year that looked really good in his win. I'm gonna find out who it was.
South American guy. South American guy, man. South American guy.
I think so, right? And he looked really good. And Dana's like, well, you missed weight. We can't sign you. And I don't think he got a chance, right? It's his fault.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. A lot of these guys are taking the fights on short notice these days, right? I get that. And a lot of guys, they're coming from different parts of the world. It's not easy to cut weight. But at the same time, you sign a contract that says you're going to make this weight and you miss weight. The UFC matchmakers, they're putting you at the bottom of their list, Marcel. There are so many fighters that want to be in the UFC, Marcel. There's so many fighters in the world, right? Why would they sign a guy who can't make weight even for your first fight? You know what I mean, Marcel? So personally, I think these guys screwed themselves. Give me your thoughts.
Funny thing is, the guy from the champion from Cage Warriors, who is now fighting on Contender Series, who missed weight, he was crapping on the Cage Warriors dude who missed weight for the title fight 1 week ago. Jake
Hadley or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Hadley, yeah. So 2 guys missed weight today. Jake Hadley came in at 137 and Christian Rodriguez 137. 1 pound away too, couldn't make it. So I think, Glenn, what you said as well about cheating, I think that's definitely something here. They are cheating because they're too big for this division. These guys should be fighting at 145. It kind of reminds me of John Lineker. He used to miss weight by a pound every time. He was a bully at 125, Marcel. But once he goes to 135, you saw what happened, right? These guys probably need to make these weight classes to be good, to be competitive in the UFC, but they can't. So, maybe they get to the UFC PI, they get in a better diet, they get better, nutrition and exercise and everything. Maybe they can make the weight, but at the same time, again, it's a job interview, guys. Just say you show up for a job interview late, Marcel, or you forget, you're not dressed properly, or I don't know, like whatever. Like you just forget, what you're even interviewing for eventually, essentially. I mean, your job is to be a UFC fighter. Part of your job is showing up and making weight. These guys failed to do that. So if I'm Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, and Dana White, I'm not signing them, Marcel. I would say even if they win and get a finish, I would not sign these guys. That sounds harsh, but I wouldn't do it. Your thoughts?
I kind of agree, man. I kind of agree. I mean, maybe give them another chance later.
You could do that, yes.
But yeah, man. I mean, it's if it's like a job interview, like you said, I mean, if you do something, yeah. But if you do the same thing at a job interview in, let's say, normal life working, and you do something wrong, I mean, you, for example, fuck up, you also don't get the job. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I'm just trying to figure out who the guy was that I was talking about. Now, was it 2 years ago? I almost feel like it was 2 years ago.
He was also undefeated, I think. Let me check. Maybe
I think it was the 3rd season, actually. Let me take a look now, because I looked at the 4th season. I don't think that was it. All right, let me go through this. I got to figure out who this guy was. It was... Damn, they signed... I'm just looking into the list. They signed so many guys. Oh, Kevin Seiler. That's his name. Yeah, Kevin Seiler. Yeah, and he looked great. He won 30-26. He dominated the guy, but Dana White was like, you missed weight, man. And I'm looking at his record. 10-1, 28 years old, American top team kid. And yeah, he missed. Well, actually, no. Well, he got another shot in the show last year. He lost.
And he lost.
So there you go. I think they could give you another fight, but they won't sign you outright. Basically, that's what we're saying, right, Marcel? Like they might give you another fight. Now, let me get this last comment from Kevin Nicholson. Hey, Kevin says, I think Randy Brown may have ligament injury in his great toe, continuing having to pop back in place during the fight with his left toe. I suggested. And I'm not surprised. I mean, that was a brutal front kick that went right to the iron chin of Jared Gooden, man. Jared Gooden just ate that kick, which was insane. Again, I don't really train, but when I used to hit like pads and stuff, I used to, when Anderson Silva knocked out Vitor Pelfort, one of the things I used to throw in the gym was that, Marcel, a guy would hold the pads like this, and I would throw the front kick. And if you throw that front kick wrong and you hit the toe at the wrong spot, you can break your toe. So not surprised it happened. I mean, I'm surprised, if anything, that we haven't seen a guy break their front toe before. Like Anderson knocked out Vitor with that crazy front kick, Marcel, or maybe like Overeem against Travis Brown or something like that. Anyways, how much time we got left? We got 10 minutes, guys. So we'll stay here. We'll get some news here. Let's go through some news, Marcel. Let me pull this up here. This made me sick. So let's pull this up because some of you guys might not have seen this fight. Melvin Gillard, Marcel, fought the other day and got knocked out by Bill Riggs. So it was pretty bad. I mean, his face broken. 5 fractures in his face. I want to show this right now, and I'm pretty sure Kevin, if he's still in the chat, would know a lot more about this than we do. I believe he had surgery. So, but I mean, this is Marcel. Look at this. And you read the comment. He says, I just found out at 3:15 a.m. I have 5 fractures in my orbital, so I'll be having surgery today. Just wanted to get my friends and family the news. I'll be okay. Just keep me in your prayers. I'll be lying if I said it wasn't a little scary right now. We'll see what happens. And this comes a week after a guy died in BKFC, or 2 months actually, technically, but a week after we learned about the guy passing away, Justin Thornton. We did talk about that, I think, last week. Marcel, this is such a bad look for bare knuckle fighting championship. I don't think they really truly care about the fighter's safety. And I understand, guys, this is combat sports. You know, people get hurt, people can get killed. We talk about this all the time, Marcel. We talk about this. Someone's going to die in the UFC one day. It's just inevitable. Someone's going to break their neck or something. But there's some things you can do to prevent this. And one of those things is you don't let guys like Melvin fight. 38 years old. He's lost 15 straight fights, Marcel. 15 straight fights. That's crazy. He has no business fighting. And when they go to these backwater commissions like the Mississippi Athletic Commission, are they really even doing testing for these guys? I'm not sure, Marcel. This fight should have never happened. And I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm boycotting BKFC, but I'm not really a fan of them, Marcel. I'm not really a fan of the promotion. I got to be honest. They promote themselves as being safer than MMA. It's just complete bullshit. Like, these sports are not safe, guys. This is combat sports, guys. I don't know, Marcel. This bothered me. This really bothered me because I don't think the fight should have ever happened. And then seeing Melvin's face get broken in half. Come on, man. This didn't have to happen. Give me your thoughts, Marcel.
Yeah, I'm personally not a big fan of BKFC, man, for the simple reason that I always got the feeling they lure older fighters into their promotion to sell tickets because of their name, and they shouldn't be fighting anymore. You know what I mean? And those guys probably don't have a lot of money anymore, or need the money, so they come back. You know they have a name, so they can still make. They are like, yeah, we can still make some money. Let's do it. You know, but we all know it's probably not a good thing. You know, and yeah, that happens, man. And that's why I'm not a big fan of BKFC, man. It's pretty much Bellator did it also at some point, man.
Yeah.
Getting old fighters for their main event and that kind of stuff is just stupid, you know. I don't listen, man. I don't want to say anything to an old fighter like don't fight anymore. I don't want to say that, you know, because it's their, it's their decision. But they should have a team around them. If you lose 15 in a row and you're like 44 or 43, might be a good time to stop. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and the other thing, I made a mistake. Sorry, guys. This fight didn't take place in Mississippi. This one was in Montana. The one where Justin Thornton died was in Mississippi. But still, I mean, what is the Montana Athletic Commission? I don't think UFC's ever did an event there, Marcel. There's no professional sports league that play there. I know they have a college there and everything, but like, there's a reason the UFC doesn't go to this. You know what I mean, Marcel? Like, I don't think these commissions really care sometimes. I think they just sign off. And I actually had a matchmaker reach out to me on Twitter the other day, Marcel, when I posted the photo of a large record, and they were like, you know, his manager contacted us for him to fight, and we just said we're not interested because they just.
Which manager?
It was a guy from one of the Canadian promotions. His name is Rob Beaver. He's not a manager. He's a matchmaker. He's from the BTC promotion where actually the guy that's fighting tomorrow is from the Cortez guy. What's his name? Reyes Cortez fought for this promotion. Yeah. And I think Jasmine was in the promotion too. Jasmine Vicious. So
Reyes, by the way, Tracy's brother, right?
Yeah, Tracy, and he fought in Toronto or just outside Toronto 2 years ago in this promotion. So anyways, the point is, you know, Melvin's manager, I don't know who that is anymore because I think he was first round for a while. I don't think he is anymore because when I tweeted out the thing about Melvin, I was just like, he shouldn't be fighting. Abe Kawa liked the tweet, and Abe, I think, in first round used to manage him. Why would he like that tweet if he managed him? He wouldn't have, obviously.
For sure,
so,
yeah.
Exactly, right? He would have been like, hey, why don't you leave him alone? Like, I remember back in the day when, I like Malky, he's cool, but back in the day, he used to be a lot more active, way back in the day, and I remember one time I bet on Todd Duffy against Frank Mir, and he was like, "You're a fucking idiot, and we're gonna lose your money." And I was like, "Whatever, Malky." he gets knocked out in 20 seconds or whatever, and Malky's like, "See, I told this guy not to bet on it." So I like those guys. Those guys are cool, man. I mean, he's by an NFL agent now, so I think he's making really, really good money, and he's not with John Jones anymore. Obviously, those guys aren't with them with John. Yeah, this is a good question from Glenn. This is the first thing I woke up and saw when I woke up this morning. I turned on Twitter and Chuck Liddell got arrested for domestic violence. And obviously, we got to talk about this. So Glenn's asking, do you think there's a possibility between domestic violence and TBI, or do we have a higher scumbags in the sport? Liddell's brain. What's TBI? Is that CTE? Is that basically what you're asking? Let me double check what TBI means. Traumatic brain injury. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Well, again, you got Kevin in the chat, and Kevin's a medical practitioner, so I'd like to hear his thoughts. For me, it's, again, I've used Chuck as an example many times on this very podcast. I've always said, Marcel, what are these guys going to look like in 20, 30, 40 years down the road? What's their brains going to look like? We have no clue because the sport is so new now. We really don't know. But now you're starting to see these guys, become violent, some of them, and very disappointing news. I mean, listen, Chuck Liddell, by all accounts and purposes, great guy. I mean, anyone ever asked about Chuck has said he's one of the greatest guys in the sport, but this is terrible. And he was arrested for domestic violence, and his wife, I think, is still the same woman that he's been with this whole time. The blonde, I think her name's Heidi. Right? She used to be in the UFC events with him. She used to sit in the crowd with him. The one time where he was like this, where he did that. Remember that the whole the famous Chuck Liddell thing. So he's been with her forever, man. Terrible, terrible news. This comes after Luis Pena was arrested recently for apparently, I think, hitting 2 women, and John Jones hitting his wife. So it looks like there's a domestic violence problem in MMA, guys. I mean, I hate to say it, but it looks like there is, and it's really sad. It's terrible. It's obviously not good. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I think there's got to be a link between brain trauma and violence or aggression. I think there would have to be. I think there has been connections made, because it's not like, we've looked at other sports, football players, hockey players that were enforcers, especially, like, their brains, they're just not the same. So again, I'd like Chuck to, when we can't do anything now because he's alive, but once he passes away, it'd be nice if Chuck donated his brain for research, and I'd love to see what it looked like, or if I'm a doctor, Marcel, because that guy's one of the greatest fighters of all time, and you've got to imagine how much trauma he's had to the brain and what that's done to him. With John Jones, he says he's got an alcohol problem, and that's not surprising. I don't think. I think anyone knows John knows that, but it's no excuse. And again, it's no excuse, Marcel. I do think it's worth Glenn talking about the link, but at the end of the day, there is no excuse for hitting a woman, obviously, and there's no excuse for domestic violence. So, any thoughts on this, Marcel? It's probably the last thing we'll talk about today before we get out of here.
Yeah, what's to add, man? I think you pretty much said it all. So it sucks to see. What can we say about it? Right?
Yeah. Oh, one more thing I want to mention. Dominic Reyes did an interview with James Lynch, great interview, and one of the things he said was he's taking off like more time. He's been out since May, and he wants to be back in like February at the earliest. He said basically he's like, I took a lot of brain damage the last 2 fights against Yuri and Jan, and I need time off to heal my brain. It's literally what he said. I need time off to heal my brain, and he said he's like, I want my grandkids. I want to be able to talk to my grandkids when I'm older. It's part of the process. I could be macho and go to the gym and say I'm ready to go, but you got to heal, and I got to take care of my brain. So Dominic, man, I'd love to hear that from him. Marcel, like, it's a guy who's openly admitting, hey, I've taken a lot of damage. I don't want to get back in there right away, because I think a lot of guys get knocked out and they go back in there way too quick, Marcel. It's a guy who's taking a lot of damage. He's being smart about his career now. Same with Calvin Kattar, took a year off after he took the damage against Max Holloway. So you'd like to see guys that are doing that, but at the same time, a lot of fighters can't afford to do that, Marcel. They can't afford to take a year off. They have to fight, especially at the lower levels. So anyways, there's a lot to unpack there, guys, but I want to talk about that. Anyways, back tomorrow, Marcel, with you. I'm looking forward to it. Now we're talking about UFC Vegas 40, so we'll break down that card tomorrow. 11 fights, guys. We'll be breaking down 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, and we'll also go over the Contender Series card at that time. And we'll probably touch on Bellator quickly as well tomorrow, because there is that the light heavyweight finals this weekend. I hate that it's both on Saturday, by the way. Both the cards are Saturday, UFC and Bellator. I don't know why that's the case. It kind of hurts the fans. Marcel, give me your thoughts just tell your stuff and we'll get out of here. That's pretty much it.
Marcel24, Twitter, Instagram, MMADNA.nl, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
There you go. You guys can follow me on Twitter at MMADaMartin, podcast, MMAOddsBreaker.com, podcast on our YouTube channel, obviously, iTunes, Spotify, all those places you find your podcast. Appreciate all the listeners, the live show, the replay, the audio-only podcast. Appreciate you guys that do listen. I'll be back with Marcel tomorrow, like I said, 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll break down that card. In the meantime, I got some articles up at MMAOddsBreaker.com, BJPen.com, MyMannews.com, Lead Fantasy, Lead Sports Betting. Also with the All-Star now, which is a newer platform, which is cool. So those guys are really awesome. And also bookies.com. So that's it. Hope you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.